Hello, everyone. I'm super excited today to introduce an amazing entrepreneur who is creating a movement that is much needed right now. I want you to meet Iffy Jennings. Iffy has spent her younger years living in Alexandria, Louisiana, and later years in Denver, Colorado. During those years, Iffy's spending time with her family and growing in kindness consciousness were near and dear to her heart. So Iffy founded the Kindness Network with the goal to foster a better and kinder community. Welcome, Iffy. I'm super excited to talk with you today and have this conversation.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm very excited to talk about the kindness movement. It's been a passion project for me for a very long time, and I'm so excited to share with everyone that's watching today. Welcome to the Kindness Network movement. I hope you will join me on this journey.
Oh, well, I'm honored to be part of this journey too. I want to just ask you some questions to just unpack a little bit more about what it is that you're doing. How, why did you start the Kindness Network?
Yeah, so kindness has always been this kind of underlining thing to me where I felt like, if we were in a world that were kinder, that we all could just kind of be there and live in harmony and peace. But what kind of started it and it jumped it off for me to take it more seriously and start the Kindness Network was a little bit after the first election. I felt like it was just exhausting, right? To kind of flip through social media. I hear about all the mean-spirited things that were happening at different rallies. And I thought it would wake me up in the middle of the night because I was like, man, people are being so cruel. It's so disheartening. And I was like, we could have, if we had a more kinder world, we could all live here with our differences and have just a peaceful, more loving environment. And that's one of the things that I love about when I think about the Kindness Network is just thinking about how do we make kindness the norm? How do we spread love, kindness, and compassion by simply just using our words and everyday actions? And I feel like if we can do that, then we can impact our communities and the world worldwide. So that's kind of how I got to the Kindness Network. It was really about waking up in the middle of the night and thinking like, man, this is really sad and I'm really exhausted from all the negativity that I'm seeing. How do I create a space where people can feel safe and know that they can come and see things that are positive and uplifting and give them hope? So that's what I think.
Wow. Thank you for your inspiration in creating this beautiful network. As you were talking, I couldn't help but think that what you're also doing is when you were talking about how the negativity was affecting you and making you exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but think that kindness is going to make us all feel better in our bodies, in our health, and
Yeah.
improve our relationships and make us show up the better version of ourselves. So you're actually giving us the gift of self-care, which so many people need right now because there's just been so much in this year that we've been dealing with. And so kindness is beautiful. I love that you said that we can make our communities better, but sometimes I think the hardest person to be kind to is ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's why I think that a part of the Kindness Network is one of the things I say, usually you'll see a quote from me is that you cannot be genuinely or authentically kind to anyone else unless you're kind to yourself. And so that's why I feel like kindness starts is having self-compassion and kindness for yourself so that you're able to give it to other people. A lot of times when you see people and they're nice, there's a difference between nice and kind, and they give to other people and that's great, but they don't take care of themselves, they get burnt out really quickly. But if you're taking care of yourself and you're being kind to yourself, then you're able to set boundaries, right, with people when you're needing to take more care of yourself, and you're able to genuinely give to other people, and it doesn't feel like it's such a task to do it. It's something that you're doing that's kind of overflowing from your heart. And that's where I want people to be and understand about the Kindness Network is self-care is important. And I will always say, start with yourself so that you can authentically give it to others.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. You know, it's it's huge to shift in this time, in this COVID time. I'm saying to people that I'm connecting to, whether it's clients or colleagues or anyone, to put yourself first.
Mhm.
Before COVID, a lot of entrepreneurs were burning themselves out, to your point, because they were trying to give, and you can't give from an empty cup.
Absolutely. I believe the kind of the same thing. Like you are able to fill your cup and give from the overflow of your cup, right? So that you're able to be kind of secure and kind to yourself, but then you still have enough to give to others because you're taking good care of yourself. So I agree. I'm still learning that. I'm still on that journey as well, but we can do this together, right? Like give tips and think about what brings me joy and happiness and how do I fill my cup so that I'm able to do it for someone else.
Oh, do you want to give an example? I know a lot of us are struggling to find those beautiful things in ways to be kind. Do you want to give us an example of how you are kind?
So, I start with even, COVID has been a very challenging time for everyone. And then when we think about the injustice that we're seeing in our community, and it's just a lot of trauma, and it's difficult to get past those things, right? So, one thing I start with is the power of words. And so it's thinking through what is my mantra today and what am I going to say to myself to help me get through this day. So it may be, for me, it's I'm enough and I am grateful. So starting with the things that I am thankful for that I do see versus thinking about the things that I do not have right now, and building from there. And that might look different for everyone, right? So what I'm grateful for and what brings me joy may not be the same for you. Maybe for you, it's reading your book and taking time for yourself. Maybe it's taking a walk. Maybe it's making meaningful connections with the people that you love, that you haven't had a chance to connect with, but you've been meaning to do it. Maybe it's stopping in that moment and saying, what I'm going to do is give them my undivided attention right now so that we can really connect. And, putting your electronics down and really having an opportunity to just hear that person and what they're going through. I think one of the benefits we can give anybody, and what I'm grateful for that I had as a child, is I was in an environment where I felt loved, seen, and important. And I don't take that for granted because I know there are several people that maybe haven't seen that or don't know what that looks like. And one of the things we can do is give people our undivided attention in the moment when we're with them.
Oh,
So,
man, you're so awesome that you said that, because I think to me, that's one of the biggest ways that I hear kindness is when someone is holding space for me in a conversation and they're fully present. Um,
yep,
they're not listening to respond. They're just listening to connect. They're listening to understand.
right.
Yeah.
And you feel seen in that moment and heard. And I think that's in most places and most times that's what people want. Even if we can't put a word to it sometimes. I know sometimes we need or want different things and we can't really put a word to it. If someone can just listen or feel like they've been heard, I feel like that changes the environment that we're in and how people show up when they feel that
I love that you said that, because I know right now during this time, there's a lot of courageous conversations that can be uncomfortable.
way. Mm-hmm.
And I love that you said that, because what I try to do is stay in curiosity and out of judgment if I get triggered.
Right.
You're giving us some wonderful tools to hold space for each other so that we can stay kind and not be drawn into a different place.
And
Wow.
I just want to also encourage people because our words are so powerful, right? They have the power to either bring life or destruction. And if you're in a traumatic phase when you can't kind of get to that space,
Mhm.
that don't be afraid to use talk therapy or talk to a therapist or a counselor in order to get past some of the trauma or address the trauma, not get past it, address the trauma so that we're able to get to that more positive place. And sometimes that takes sitting down with a professional. I know I certainly have done it and I've been grateful for that. And want to encourage everyone not to be afraid to do that if that's what you need in the moment, because our words are powerful. The way we speak to each other and speak to others, they make a difference. And we want to make sure that each word we use, that we take them one kind word at a time and use it in a positive way. And it all starts with one word. And then after that, the next one.
That is beautiful. So, why is kindness important to you?
Kindness is important to me because I feel like it builds not only a community, but it builds this atmosphere of love and compassion.
Yeah.
And who does not want to be in an environment where love and compassion is the norm and is things that we lead with, right? Like in, the Kindness Network, one of our values is kindness is beauty. And we're not saying beauty as in vanity, it's beauty as in hope and love, right? Beauty as in this opportunity to create an environment where we all can feel accepted and important.
Mhm.
And so it gives us an opportunity to make impact, to make change. I feel like kindness can carry from generation to generation. So if you grow up in a household where kindness is the norm, then when you go out in the community, you're still going with kindness, even if you meet someone that's not, right? Because when we have this understanding that it's not you, right?
Right,
It's
right,
some of the
right.
things that they're still on their kindness journey and they just haven't gotten to the place where you are. But thinking through, then it continues and they teach it to their next family member, and everyone they encounter kind of drops a seed of kindness as we go, and then we have this beautiful bouquet of love, kindness, and compassion that kind of sits from eternity, right, in
Right.
this environment. And I think that's the why I love kindness so much, is because it has such a lasting impact just by simple acts, right? Those are the things that are most impactful. Simple words and simple acts are ways that we kind of make this ripple effect throughout the world.
Wow. When you were talking, I was thinking something jumped out, and that was, there's some conversation going on right now about the effects of climate change, and that's another thing that we've got on our plate with the raging fires here in Colorado and in California, and the devastating effects of the hurricanes. That the earth is screaming for us to take care of her.
Yeah,
You were talking, I couldn't help but think that when we step into kindness and really take this seriously, and we're kind, we start with ourselves being kind, then we're kind to each other. I would just imagine that that would also have a domino effect on us being kind to our planet. Would you agree?
absolutely.
Oh, good. I know it's
Absolutely.
exciting. The
It's
benefits
very
of
exciting. It's just this ripple effect, right? Of kind of like what it does. It starts with you. You
kindness.
start with your immediate community, whatever your community looks like. It might be your group of friends, it might be your family, it might be your neighborhood, and then branching out to that. And then each person kind of gets the seed of kindness and then branch out from there. And then we're being more kinder to the earth, taking care of it, and then generations to come. It's just this ever ending impact on the world that we can have just from simply starting with one word and one small act. It's incredible to me. I'm so excited about
I would be too. Oh
it.
my gosh, I love, love, love this. Who inspired and modeled kindness for you?
Yeah, I've been get blessed enough to have it in so many different areas of my life. It was, from my birth, mom being a woman of, softly spoken, but also carried a lot of kindness and love. Again, that was the environment that I grew up in where I felt love, seen, and important. So that's the first place where I see kindness. It's from, my family that took care of me after my mom passed away, just having this incredible open heart of love to welcome in three young girls into their families so that we had a home and a place to thrive and invite and providing a safe home for me. It was having people along my career path that, either took me under their wing or saw things in me about that I didn't see and were able to bring them out. Those are the things that really inspired me. And kindness that was given to me and it made me want to give it to someone else, right? So again, it's that seed effect that naturally comes. Like when good things happen to you, then you want to share them with other people. You want other people to feel that the love, the compassion. I often say that it sticks to me in my head because I felt like it was a pivotal point in my life to feel loved, seen, and important. Because I thought about this afterwards, because you kind of understand when someone doesn't feel that way and how it kind of manifests in different ways in their lives. And you automatically want to give that to them if they're ready to receive it, right? What does that look like? But understanding that that might look different for everyone. What was made me feel loved, seen, and important might be different for you, Rhoda. So it's just being able to articulate that. And if you can't, being okay with saying that you don't know in the moment, but exploring how to get
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. And I love that you talked about kindness in the workplace,
there.
because often we think kindness is something that happens in a random encounter with a stranger, or in our families, or in communities where we are close to people, churches and organizations. But someplace like work, that's a place where you don't typically think of kindness, but I can see how that would make a huge difference in the productivity that the organization is able to pull out of their employees. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. I worked at an organization where we had a great culture. And one of the things we would do, this is just a small piece of the culture, but we had this gratitude bag. So if someone did something that you thought was amazing, or you thought that they did a good job in a project that you kind of observed, then you kind of wrote it on a slip. And then when we would go to our meeting, we would read, the gratitude for that person. And you never knew if you were going to get one or not, but everyone tried to do their best to be really grateful and put something in the bag, so everyone got something by the end of the meeting. And it seems small, and in some environments it might even have seemed uncomfortable, but it was so big of a part. It was such a huge part of our culture that it was expected, right? Like, we all knew that we were going to get this bag, and it was just a gift bag that we put paper in with thank you on it. Like, we wrote out a note, or we would joke about those that needed to type their note because you couldn't understand their writing, right? But it was just such a fun environment to be in. And in that same environment, the leader that was in that environment was very intentional about understanding what people's strengths were and what their opportunities were, and also giving them the benefit of the doubt. So that created a culture of kindness for me, because people knew that they gave you the benefit of the doubt and knew that you had the best intentions as you approach your work. And that was a very high functioning and productive team because of some of those small things. And of course, there were other things that were there, but the one thing that sticks out the most to me is that gratitude bag, and the leader who had trust in her employees and also was very intentional about pointing out their strengths to them and helping them if they had opportunities.
Wow. You mentioned gratitude earlier in the conversation, and I know for me, it's one of my daily practices that I lean into whenever I'm feeling anxiety or fearful, or any negative thoughts come through. I try to intentionally choose gratitude, and it just grounds me in that place of peace.
Yeah.
What's your connection of kindness and gratitude? I know you've mentioned it a couple of times.
So my connection would be, well, first of all, mindfulness is one of the things that I really try to do, is just take a moment, especially when I'm overwhelmed and I feel like my thoughts are racing. I can't really just kind of get past whatever the emotion or feeling is. I really try like a mindfulness exercise. I have the Headspace app, and so I take and I'm learning, right? I'm becoming better, because I originally thought when people said mindfulness, like, how can you sit for that long and not think about anything? And I'm learning that's not really what it's about. It's allowing your thoughts to kind of flow and coming back to them. So there's growth in that area, but that's one of the things that I'm starting to do is mindfulness. I also try to stay physically active, and I can kind of feel when I'm not, right? I know when I'm not being active and pushing myself in that way. It's part of the self-care piece.
Right.
And I really love listening to books. And my one other guilty pleasure is I love Hallmark movies. I know they're cheesy.
Too.
But
Me too, right?
I
No.
love, I love that they're so like
Right?
positive and happy. And so I will watch those all day. I love them. That's my other kind of guilty pleasure.
I love it. Well, and you know what? And that makes sense, because if you're pouring good thoughts and positivity in, that would probably make sense to help you build up kindness. If it's
No, yeah.
something that's not already part of how you show up. I love that you share that. Thank you.
I never thought of it that way, of kind of pouring in, but I love them. I'm going to take that tip with me. So you gave me something.
Oh, because my thing is, I'm careful of what I listen to, what I watch, because I feel like the computer, good in, good out.
No, yeah.
If you're absorbing negativity all day, and it's going to be really a challenge. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's going to be a challenge to show up positive if all that you're hearing and seeing and engaging with is negative. So
No, I completely agree. And that's where it comes with the power of words too, right? Like, if you're speaking and saying things that are negative, then that's what you're going to see in your environment. But there's hope in, if you're able to give yourself self-talk to understand that things could change, or you can speak to yourself differently, with positive words, then it changes your environment. And I think it's the same with what you just said. What you pour in is what you're going to get out.
I love that. And you know, one of the things that I do for to check in with myself on if I'm driving myself too hard is I'll just check in and say, Rhoda, what is it that you need from me right now? And I'll stop. And as a solopreneur, I don't know if this is something that's part of your journey. We're used to attaboys and attagirls in a job, but we don't get that when we're working alone. And
Right.
stopping to say, you did a good job, just saying that out loud to myself has huge, huge benefits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And you know, that's a good point. Like if you're so accustomed to having a thought partner and you're kind of on the journey along, I've been grateful to have thought partners like you, of course, to talk to me through different things that I'm working on the Kindness Network. But sometimes when you're by yourself, it's kind of hard. You know, I wrote a piece for this new product that I'm bringing out, and I sent it to the graphic designer. She said, "Do you love it?" I said, "I do love it, but this is the first time I haven't, you know, run it past like five of my friends and said, what do you think? Do you like it? What do you think? Like, is it good? Is it not?" And she said, well, maybe this is time for you to be comfortable with your own voice. And that really set in well with me because I thought, you're right. Like, I just need to feel confident that the things that are poured into me, I can pour out to others. And that is, and for the person that's meant to hear it, is going to be good for them. And that's the first time someone said that to me. And I thought, maybe I don't need to kind of run this past like 10 different people. But that was me, right? Like trying to think through like, okay, if they like it, then other people will like it, you know? So
I love that you shared that. That is so powerful because so many of us second guess ourselves.
mhm.
And sometimes it takes a person. I know my daughter was that person to me because I was all over. I need this person's opinion and I need this business coach. And I mean, not that we don't need coaches, but
Right.
mom, you're a brilliant woman. You got
Oh,
this.
I love that. You
And
are, yeah.
sometimes we just need to remember that we are a lot more talented than we think we are, and
Hmm.
that's a form of self-care and kindness, right?
Yep, you are enough right where you sit today with the skills you have today and the things that you're doing. Absolutely.
Wow. So how do we promote kindness in a world that feels dark?
Oh, that is a hard piece. You know, even with, and I'll be honest on this journey, I'm on the journey with you, right? So even in this place where everything feels dark, some days kindness is not easy for me. And it's something that I'm passionate and I absolutely love. And I understand the importance of it, even the scientific importance of it.
Oh wow.
But in this journey, I think one of the ways that we can promote kindness in a place where things are so dark is to make it simple. Start with one kind word, not overwhelm ourselves with all the things that are going on because there's a lot going on right now. I am with you. I feel the trauma and the pain from the things that we're seeing day to day. I'm overwhelmed and exhausted by all the political jargon and things that are happening that are just one against the Black community, two against just people in general with COVID. And the one thing we can do is just make it simple and start with one kind word. Start there, one simple act, even if it's a smile that we're sharing with someone we love, even if it's a quick conversation, even if it's something as simple as I just need to take a moment for myself
Mhm.
in this moment with the one kind word and one simple act is going to start with my self-care. That's okay. And
Wow.
it should start there because that's where we can start to get kind of lift the fog a little bit in our lives because we've started in this area of I need to figure out what I can do here so that I'm able to pass it on to others. And so that's where I start and where I encourage others to do the same is to one, keep it simple with one kind word. And each word we speak, use that as our opportunity to spread kindness in one simple act. Maybe it's you sharing a meal. Maybe it's you sending a meal to someone. Maybe it's sending flowers, or maybe it's just a gift of time that you have that you can spend with people. Time is so precious.
Wow.
Um, and that's where I think we can start with kind of lifting this fog. It's a starting point. I think along the journey, we'll learn from each other on what that looks like and how do we continue to spread kindness
Sure.
through the simple words and actions. And I'm excited that we get to do this together and we all get to kind of give our ideas and pour into each other. Do I have all the ideas for kindness? No, but we do collectively. So we can do it by just starting simply at a starting point.
Oh, that is beautiful. And it's so exciting that you make it a community of kindness that we can all learn more and more from each other. I love one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and this has been powerful for me in challenging situations as we're talking about, world that's dark. Is he said, if you have the choice to be right or to be kind, choose kind.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
I
good.
and in those moments when I was tempted to react, I was able to respond with a kind word. And what has typically happened, I'm not going to say it happened every single time, but what typically has happened is that person can can if I stay neutral, if I stay in a kind place and they're ranting and raving and being nasty to me, then they can kind of self correct and apologize.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always happen. I want to ask you a question about when it doesn't happen. How would you set boundaries around?
Yeah, and that's the important piece with kindness. I want to make sure that I emphasize is that I truly believe in kindness with boundaries. And with boundaries means that it's a part of the self care journey, it's a part of setting limitations for yourself and those that have access to you, being okay with um this. I know this is challenging. Being okay with maybe not having some of those relationships that are toxic for you in your life, or being okay with stepping away, or being okay with using your voice in that moment. It doesn't have to be mean spirited. You don't have to match it, but you can be stern in your approach to how you address someone if you're in a situation that's not, when someone's not being kind to you. And I'm not saying, there's this debate or this overarching thing, but I am saying that we all have um, this, we all owe it to ourselves to
Right.
set healthy boundaries with people, right? And we all owe it to ourselves in order to feel our best selves and be in a healthy environment to set up kindness with boundaries. And that means that maybe people don't have the same access to you. And we can love and forgive people and not be with them day to day or even have relationships with them. And that's okay. You know?
I love
It's,
that you said that. Oh my God. Because for the longest, I thought forgiveness and kindness meant reconciliation. And
yeah. In some cases it does. In
yeah,
some it does not.
but some people they're just not wanting to honor your feelings. I'll have to tell you, I had a doctor's appointment this morning before we jumped on the call. And the person that took me back to the doctor's office, it was nothing major, it's a foot thing. I walk a lot, so I want to make sure I take care of my feet. But
Yeah.
so mean. And we get in the room and she starts shouting at me. And I just looked at her with this look and I said, in the kindest voice, I just said, why are you yelling? And then it just kind of helped her realize, oh, and I said, we could have a better conversation if you would just talk to me like I'm talking to you. And it really did make a difference. I'm learning to set boundaries without diminishing other people. And I think that that's something
That's so critical. I
it's
love that you said that.
it's not taught. I had to learn that because
Yes.
for the longest I wouldn't speak up because I didn't have the words. I didn't want to bash them. I didn't want to escalate the situation. So I just would silently suffer. And that wasn't good for my health. But what I learned to do was to speak up for myself in a way that lets the person know what's happening in a tone where I can be heard. Because if you're coming from a lot of emotion,
Yeah.
people shut down. They're not wanting to hear what you have to say. So telling them in a way that I can be heard, but also in not diminishing them.
I absolutely love that you said that because it's a part of the kindness journey, right?
Right.
And speaking kindness with boundaries, you just gave a perfect example of that. And it's okay to use our voice when somebody is crossing our boundaries to be able to tell them in a manner that's kind. We don't need to diminish them. It's funny that you said that because I have a similar example of or feeling of it where I used to just kind of keep it all in because I didn't want to get into any confrontation.
Sure.
So much so that you would kind of explode at some point, right? And it would be on this in this point where it didn't warrant that reaction, but you had
Right.
been keeping it in for so long that it just kind of just went kind of crazy. So then you kind of learn to kind of along the journey, like you said, like if I address it in the moment, then I can let that person know that they're crossing my boundaries. I don't have to diminish them as a person. And some people might receive that well, and some may not. But we're all on this kindness journey, whether you know it or not. And some and somebody may not be as far along as we are. And so we need to point that out to them. And hopefully at some point that seed is at least planted and someone else will come and water it. And hopefully at some point within their life, they'll understand what the kindness message and journey is about. And they'll be able to kind of grow and learn from that. And when they have those encounters, be able to receive that feedback in order to make the change that they need to make. So
Wow. This is so powerful. Iffy, I know you have some beautiful things to help us, remind us to be kind. I'm grateful to have the Kindness Network leggings. Can you talk about
yes.
that a little bit so we can,
Yeah.
coming into the
So we want
holidays?
Yeah, so I wanted to be able to make it easy for people to kind of spread the message about kindness. And one of the ways I feel like you can always start with that is one kind word. And so on the Kindness Network website, we have the one kind word apparel. And so it's just different ways of lifestyle ways that people can promote one kind word and think through it. It's also a reminder for them. I know it certainly is for me when I wear it to remember that it all starts with one kind word, even if I'm not being kind. I like to liken the kindness journey to the kindness survival kit, especially during COVID, right? And so we pack it with a lot of different things, our kind words, our kind action, and our self care. And some days the survival kit may feel really heavy, right? And
Yeah.
other days, and so that means we get to go home, unpack the things that kind of made it into our survival kit that we didn't work, like if we were mean spirited, if we were angry, if we kind of used our words in a negative way, we unpack all those things and then we pack back in our kind words, right? Our kind actions, so that the next day on our journey that it feels a little lighter, we can get through it. So the one kind word apparel is just some ways that we do that, and we help you kind of remember to be kind to others. And hopefully other people see that message and they think one kind word is just, it's simple. It just starts there.
Wow. How can people stay connected to you? I know you have, the- I saw a post of yours on Instagram that will forever be in my heart. And it was, if you speak, science has proven that, and forgive me if I'm paraphrasing, if you speak a kind word to plants, they grow. Imagine what happens with humans.
Yeah.
My God, that was
Yeah.
powerful. How can we stay connected to you so that we get these beautiful pieces of wisdom that you're sharing?
Yep. So on Instagram and Facebook, we're at First Kindness Net. And then we also have our official website that we're launching this week. I'm so excited for it. And it's thekindnessnetwork.net. So it's HTTPS, // thekindnessnetwork.net. So that's another place where we'll always be posting blogs and new apparel will come out, and we'll continuously put up kind words. And we even have videos on there where people can go and see videos and random acts of kindness or kindness from all over the world. And so we want your help with that too, right? So if you see kind words or quotes that inspire you, share them with us so that we can share them with others. We're all a community. Or if you see a video that inspired you and you want to give that to us to put on the website so that we can share it with other people, please share it, because we want to make sure that the Kindness Network is a movement that was a passion project for me, but it's a community for us all. And I want everyone to feel like when they come into that community that they're loved, seen, and important, but also it's a place where they can come and get relief from just some of the negative things that kind of bogs us down. I hope when you leave the website, you feel lighter or you have a sense of hope. So thank you so much for having me today and
Oh,
giving me an opportunity to speak to your community.
my great pleasure. I think that what you're offering is something that it's a one size fits all, that everyone in every age group, every culture can really benefit from joining your kindness network. So I'm grateful that we had this conversation because it takes a village, and
It does.
we're all in this together. Thank you so much for
Thank
what
you.
I'm so
So
grateful.
grateful for being here today.
Oh, me too. Well, thank you.
Thank you.